Right now, someone weaker than you is winning. Why? Because they look more certain. They speak without hesitation. They act like they deserve everything, and the world believes them. Meanwhile, you hesitate, you overthink, you wait for the right moment, the right words, the right feeling. And as you wait, someone else takes what could have been yours. Confidence isn't a trait, it's a weapon, and if you don't carry it, someone else will use it against you. Machiavelli knew this centuries ago. The bold get ahead, even if they lack the skill. The hesitant stay behind, no matter how brilliant they are, because power doesn't belong to the best. It belongs to the most certain. Now write in the comments, I'm no longer hesitating, I'm the bold seizing power. This video is a turning point. Not for motivation, not for comfort, but for control. You'll learn how to erase hesitation, speak like a ruler, and move like a man who expects to be obeyed. Watch closely, because from here on, your weakness will no longer be tolerated. It will be replaced. You weren't born weak. You were made that way, by repetition, by reward, by rules, trained to obey, trained to seek approval, trained to ask, is this okay? What lives inside you right now is not a man. It's a servant, conditioned to please, programmed to submit. A loyal dog who flinches at judgment and waits for permission. That voice in your head, the one that hesitates, that overthinks, that apologizes before speaking. That's not you. That's the inner servant. And if you don't erase him, you will never be free. Machiavelli didn't whisper. He commanded. He didn't wait to be understood. He acted and let others catch up. He didn't ask for power. He seized it because he knew. Those who ask don't deserve. Your transformation starts with inversion. Every time you want to shrink, expand. Every time you want to explain, pause. Every time you want to apologize, stare, because dangerous confidence doesn't come from feeling ready. It comes from doing what the inner servant would never dare. You walk faster. You take up space. You stop nodding. You stop softening your tone. You speak like your words are decisions, not suggestions. Confidence isn't a mindset. It's an identity, and that identity is forged in defiance, not against the world, but against the version of you that still wants to serve. Comment below, I'm no longer the servant. I'm the ruler awakening. So here's your first rule. If it makes you small, destroy it. A thought, a habit, a person, erase it. If it makes you hesitate, confront it if it makes you weak. Deny it if it tries to be liked. Laugh at it. The world will tell you to be kind, polite, and nice. But here's the Machiavellian truth. Nice men are tools. They get used, discarded, replaced. Powerful men aren't nice. They're precise, measured, controlled, calculated. And it starts by removing that little voice inside you that still begs to be accepted. You don't need permission. You don't need validation. You need only one thing, the willingness to become feared. Not by others, but by your former self. Because once you erase the servant, the ruler awakens. Powerful men don't arrive loudly. They arrive with presence, not through their voice, but through their silence, their stillness, their stare. You don't need to be known. You don't need to be liked. You just need the atmosphere to shift the moment you enter. That's how a man moves. When he owns the room, not because he's been told he does, but because he behaves like he always has. Machiavelli understood this in the royal courts. The ones who ruled weren't always the kings. Sometimes it was the man in the corner who barely spoke. But when he did, the entire court leaned in. Silence is controlled. You think talking makes you dominant? It doesn't. It makes you predictable. The quiet man is the threat because no one knows what he's thinking. Write in the comments now. I'm no longer predictable. I'm the quiet threat. When you walk into a room, you don't look for permission. You don't glance around for approval. You observe. You absorb. You let the others rush to prove themselves while you calculate. Your posture speaks before your mouth does. You move slowly, not because you're uncertain, but because you're in no hurry. Predators don't sprint unless it's time to strike. Until then, they wait, calm, ready. Most people don't even realize how fast they move, how fast they talk, how often they interrupt because they're trying to impress, because they're still beneath someone else's judgment. But when you walk in like you own the room, you don't speak to impress. You speak to decide. Every sentence carries finality. Every word sounds like a conclusion. People start to listen differently. They don't challenge you. They calibrate themselves to you. And when others speak, you wait. You let them go first. You let them reveal their hunger, their insecurity, their weakness. Because the one who talks first usually gives away what they fear. And once you know that, you can bend them at will. You don't chase energy. You create gravity. Because confidence at this level is not about being liked. It's about making others question their own position just by standing near you. So you carry yourself like you've already won. Not arrogantly, but like someone who doesn't compete because he's already chosen himself. If they respect you, good. If they don't, better. Because indifference to approval is the final form of power. And if the room wasn't yours when you entered, by the time you leave, they'll remember it like it was. Not because you demanded it, but because you didn't have to. Comment this: I'm no longer chasing energy. I'm creating gravity. Words are not just sounds. They are weapons. And most men speak as if they're asking for permission to exist. You can spot them instantly. The rising tone at the end of every sentence, the nervous laughter, the endless, I think maybe, I'm not sure, but they speak as if they're apologizing for taking up space. That is not speech. That is self-sabotage. Machiavelli knew the truth. Power is not always in what you say, but how you say it. And when you speak like you cannot be denied, people don't analyze your words. They submit to the weight of your certainty. Because here's the game. People are not logical. They're emotional. They don't follow truth. They follow conviction. If you sound sure, they assume you are right. If you hesitate, they assume you're not worth listening to. So what does a Machiavellian voice sound like? It's slow, calm, final. You speak as if your words are not open for debate, as if each sentence is a decree. You speak like someone who already expects to be obeyed. It doesn't matter if you're in a room full of experts. If you sound like a decision, they'll defer. That's the first rule. Sound like the end, not the beginning. And here's what most will never tell you. You don't need to speak often to be respected. In fact, the more you say, the more chances you give others to decode you, challenge you, or worse. Stop fearing you. Speak less. Mean more when you do speak. Declare in the comments, I'm no longer hesitating in speech. I'm decreeing with certainty. Eliminate softness. No filler. No explanations. No apologies. Never say, I'm just saying I could be wrong. I don't know if this makes sense, but those are escape hatches for the weak. Burn them. Say what you mean and leave it there. Let others deal with the silence that follows, because silence after a strong statement is powerful. It dares people to challenge you, and most won't. Why? Because they're too afraid of what else you might say. Now understand this. The tone of your voice is your true message. The words are the surface. But your tone, your calm, grounded, deliberate tone, tells people exactly where you stand in the hierarchy. You want to rise. Lower your pitch. Slow your tempo. Remove the nervous energy. Sound like someone who has nothing to prove and everything under control. Sound like a man who's already made up his mind and expects the world to catch up. You don't win conversations by being louder. You win them by speaking in a way that makes people feel. Your words aren't suggestions. They're facts. This is how rulers speak, how generals speak, how kings and exiles speak before they take their thrones back. And if someone challenges you, never defend. Redirect. Don't argue. Don't explain. Don't justify. Just say I disagree or better. That's incorrect. And then move on. Because when you refuse to debate, you signal something terrifying that your reality is not up for negotiation. That's how you control a room without ever raising your voice. Because confidence isn't volume. It's gravity. It's the invisible weight behind your words. The assumption that when you speak, others should listen. When you speak, the room should feel it. Not through noise, not through arrogance, but through unshakable certainty. You're not trying to be right. You're speaking like someone who can't be wrong. You're not trying to be heard. You're speaking like someone who doesn't care if you agree, because you will eventually. That's power. And from this point forward, it's how you speak or you stay silent. Comment below. I'm no longer debating. My reality is non-negotiable. Confidence without control is decoration. You can walk tall, speak well, move with authority. But if someone can still trigger you with a sentence, you are not powerful. You are exposed. This is where most men fail. They master presence. They master speech. But their emotions still belong to everyone else. A whisper of disrespect, and they react a compliment, and they soften a silence, and they spiral. You are not free until you master the invisible war, the one inside your own mind, and that begins by rewiring your identity. Machiavelli understood this in the courts of power. He didn't fear enemies. He feared dependency, emotional or otherwise. He didn't trust affection. He trusted control. Because once people know what moves you, they know where to press. And once they know where to press, you're not dangerous anymore. You're manageable, and manageable men are discarded the moment they lose usefulness. So here's the transformation. You stop being the man who reacts, and you become the man who calculates. Someone insults you. You don't explain. You observe. You extract data. What are they trying to get from you? What are they hiding behind? The insult. Someone praises you. You don't melt. You analyze. Why are they complimenting you now? What do they want? Someone ignores you. You don't panic. You become even colder. Silence becomes your weapon, not your wound. This is what it means to become psychologically unreachable, not emotionless, but unshakable. You feel everything, but you act on nothing unless it serves your outcome. When someone tests you, you don't lash out. You show no visible discomfort. Why? Because your mind is not a public space. It is a fortress, and you decide who enters. That's how you stop being manipulated. Most men are so easy to control, it's laughable. Write in the comments, I'm no longer reacting, I'm unshakable. Tell them they're not good enough. They'll over-explain. Tell them they're amazing. They'll chase you. Pull away from them emotionally, and they'll beg to reconnect. This is not power. This is programming. And until you break the code, you will always be someone else's tool. So how do you rewire? You remove the need to be understood. That's the root virus. The desire to explain yourself, to be seen, to be validated. It's what makes you controllable. Burn it. You don't exist to be understood. You exist to move the world around you. Strategically, surgically, silently. You replace the fear of rejection because the Machiavellian mind doesn't chase acceptance. It controls access. You don't want to be invited in. You want people to wonder what happens when they're no longer allowed near you, and you erase the habit of reacting emotionally. Emotions are real, but irrelevant unless weaponized. You're angry. Use it as fuel. You're insulted. Use it as leverage. You're doubted. Use it as silence, and let results speak later. This is how powerful men are built. They don't become robotic. They become undeniable. Because once no one can move you emotionally, they can only watch you move with precision and fear what you'll do next. Let others chase peace and understanding. You chase clarity and control because the world doesn't care how you feel. It only responds to what you project. Certainty, direction, gravity. And when your identity becomes unshakable, you become dangerous. Not because you're violent, not because you're loud, but because you're unreachable. The people around you will try. They'll test you. They'll praise you. They'll ignore you. They'll tempt you. But nothing works. You stay the same. Cold, calm, calculated. And in time, they stop trying to manipulate you because they realize something terrifying. You are the one person. They cannot move. This is the final transformation. Not posture, not speech, not appearance, but identity. You are no longer shaped by others. You shaped the room. You shaped the rules. You shaped the outcome. You don't need to be understood. You don't need to be accepted. You don't need anything from anyone, because now you belong to no one. And that is what makes you untouchable. Comment now. I'm no longer controllable. I'm unreachable. Rejection feels like a wound to the weak, to the powerful. It's a signal, a gift, a message from the world saying you were too available, too obvious, too desperate. Good. Now you know what needs to be destroyed. Understand this rejection is not personal. It's positional. People reject what they believe they can survive without. So if they said no to you, it means they believe they lost nothing. That's not an insult. That's intel. Now you know where they stand and where you stand, which means you can now position yourself to strike back later when they're weak and you're untouchable. Step 1. Never appear affected. The moment you show pain, they win. It's not even about them. It's about your legend. A Machiavellian mind doesn't panic when the door shuts. It makes the room colder. You weren't rejected. They were disqualified from accessing you. Rejection is only real when you acknowledge it, so you don't react. You evolve. Step 2. Withdraw your presence like a weapon. What happens when something you took for granted disappears? You begin to feel its weight, its value. That's exactly what you do when rejected. Vanish. No explanations, no emotional farewells, just a strategic absence. And while they feel the void you build, Machiavelli said, men should be either treated generously or destroyed because they take revenge for slight injuries, but not for ones too severe. So don't hurt them. Make them irrelevant. Make your silence louder than your words. Make them wonder where you went, how far you've gone, and if they ever had access to you at all. Comment below. I'm no longer affected by rejection. I'm evolving through it. Step 3. Reframe the narrative. Rejection only has power if it looks like you were chasing something. So rewrite the story. Not for them, but for yourself. You weren't rejected. You selected yourself out of a game too small for you. You allowed them to say no because you were observing their behavior. You gave them one opportunity to prove they had the discernment to recognize power. They failed. And in that failure, they told you everything you needed to know. Now you vanish and upgrade. Step 4. Convert rejection into control. Here's where you win. Rejection is clarity. Most people live in confusion, not knowing who respects them, who uses them, who fears them. But rejection cuts through that fog like a blade. Now you know who's blind. Now you know where your power has no impact yet. So what do? You refine your edge. You sharpen your image. You amplify your value so loudly that the people who once ignored you now have to explain themselves when they speak your name. And the next time they come back, they will. You don't even need to reject them. You've already evolved beyond their reach. That's control. Silent, permanent, elegant. Step 5. Weaponize your comeback. The goal is never revenge. Revenge is emotional. Machiavellian power is always calculated, so you don't try to get back at anyone. You let time handle that for you. You reappear only when your presence creates discomfort, when your success is so visible they can't avoid it, when the person who rejected you is now watching you dominate the very space they thought you didn't belong in. You say nothing. You offer no spite, no sarcasm, no ego. You offer a simple glance, or better, no glance at all, because now you're not trying to be accepted. You're setting the standard. Final word. Rejection is not defeat. It's the test, the filter, the fire that shows you what needs to be cold, what needs to be cut, and who needs to be left behind. So remember this. You weren't rejected. You were redirected toward a version of yourself that doesn't ask twice, doesn't flinch, and doesn't wait to be chosen. Now go build in silence and return as a force they can't reject, even if they want to. Write in the comments, "I'm no longer wounded by rejection. It's my signal to evolve." They think you will break. They think you will shout. They think you will crumble into the predictable little dance most weak men perform when their pride gets touched. But they have made a mistake. They have confused silence for surrender. You do not flinch. You do not bark. You do not bleed where they can see you stand still. So still that the air feels heavier, as if something dangerous is about to happen. That is the first ripple of fear, and they feel it before they even understand why. This is not kindness. This is not restraint. This is control. Control. They did not know you had control. They cannot break control. That turns their disrespect back on them until even their own shadow feels like a threat. A man who reacts is readable, predictable, and weak. A man who waits, who studies, who lets the insult hang in the air like a dying insect, is a man who is dangerous. Cold men wind because cold men are patient. Patience is the blade hidden under your coat, sharp, silent, and inevitable. Every breath you take after the moment of insult is you reloading. You are not reloading a gun. You are reloading a strategy. When someone disrespects you, they hand you a weapon. They just do not know you are going to use it. This is the point where you stop being prey. This is the point where you stop being nice in the way sheep are nice from here on. You are winter in human form, quiet, vast, and merciless. They will learn that nothing freezes faster than arrogance. Welcome to dark tactics. Comment this so you do not forget. My silence is their sentence. Now we begin. Comment now. I'm no longer reacting. I'm patient and dangerous. When someone disrespects you, your first instinct will be to act, to fire back, to defend yourself. That instinct is weakness disguised as pride. Machiavelli warned that power is rarely lost in one blow. It is leaked through careless reactions. Every time you rush to prove yourself, you are spending currency you didn't need to spend. Your silence is not retreat. It is the first move in a longer game. Think of yourself as a chess player, facing a loud opponent who thinks the game is about noise. They slam their pieces. They talk big. They hope you'll match their volume. You don't. You let them think they're winning while you position for the replacement. That is called strategy. The weak think revenge is about reaction. The strong, number. Revenge is about repositioning. If you react emotionally, they own the frame. If you control the frame, you decide the terms of the fight and whether the fight happens at all. This is why you wait. This is why you record. This is why you study. Machiavelli wrote that men must either be flattered or crushed, nothing in between. Your patience allows you to see which they deserve. Flatter those who can be useful. Crush those who are a danger. Never confuse the two. This requires discipline, because discipline is the currency of dominance. Here's the leverage. While they are busy underestimating you, you are gathering resources as allies and proof. They think they've bruised you. What they've done is placed themselves under your observation. That's when they start making mistakes. Big, obvious, fatal mistakes. Because they think you're not watching. This is where your power multiplies. You are no longer a participant in their petty drama. You are the architect of the board they are trapped on. And when you move, it's not to win an argument. It's to end their ability to challenge you again. So remember this. The man who can wait controls the terms. The man who controls the terms wins without having to swing. Comment this now to exit into your mind. I decide the battlefield should. Write in the comments, I'm no longer emotional. I'm repositioning for the change. The greatest revenge is to make them dig their own grave while thanking you for the shovel. Machiavelli understood this truth. Enemies destroy themselves faster when you remove open resistance. When you fight them head-on, you unify them. When you vanish into silence, you divide them. Their arrogance grows unchecked, and arrogance is the most predictable path to collapse. Here's the move. After disrespect, you stop feeding their relevance. No public call-outs, no emotional confessions, no back-channel gossip. You treat them like an empty chair in a locked room. This is psychological starvation, and it is lethal. People cannot stand to be ignored by someone they wanted to provoke. The silence becomes a mirror. They start seeing themselves more clearly, and they don't like what they see. While they are wrestling their own ego, you're working in shadows. You're improving your skills, your network, your leverage. You're becoming the person they can't touch. Not because you're loud, but because you're above them. They can swing at you, but their arms won't reach that high. Machiavelli advised rulers to appear merciful, faithful, and humane, but to be ready to act with the opposite. When survival demands it, you do the same. Outwardly, you remain calm, focused, productive. Inwardly, you keep a ledger. Every slight, every lie, every attempt to undermine you. It all gets recorded because at the right time, that ledger becomes your weapon. The beauty of this tactic is that you don't need to strike first. You let them keep talking, keep overreach, keep exposing themselves. They think they are winning ground. In reality, they are building the case against themselves. And when the moment comes, you don't need to argue. You simply present the facts. Facts are cold. Facts are final facts and debates. By then, the battlefield is already yours. You didn't rush to it. You built it under their feet. That's how you make an enemy collapse without touching them. They trip on the rope. They tied themselves. So lock this in. You don't destroy them. You let them destroy themselves. Comment it exactly. Their hands, my victory. Comment below. Their hands, my victory. I'm no longer fighting head-on. Patience is the prelude. Precision is winning. Up until now, you've been quiet, calculating, letting them pile mistakes like dry wood. But Machiavelli was clear. The wise prince does not strike when he is angry. He strikes when the blow will end the matter entirely. This is where you move from defense to offense. And here's the key. Your offense must look like necessity. If your strike appears emotional, they'll call it petty. If it appears calculated, justified, and inevitable, they'll call it fate. That's how you rewrite the story. So the world sees you not as the aggressor, but as the one who simply restored order. This is where dark tactics becomes lethal. You never attack a man's strength. You attack the scene between his pride and his weakness. Every enemy has it, that co-worker who undercut you. His seam might be a hidden failure. He's desperate to bury that rival who mocked you. His seam might be the approval of others he can't live without. You don't touch the armor. You find the crack. You apply pressure slowly, subtly. You make moves that look like coincidence to everyone except him. You redirect opportunities away from him, cut his lines of influence, expose small truths that make others doubt him. You don't have to tell the whole story, just enough for the crowd to question the ending. And once doubt enters a man's circle, his own allies finish the work for you. Machiavelli wrote that it is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. The reason is simple: fear survives longer than affection. If your calculated strike teaches them, and everyone watching that disrespecting you carries a cost, you've planted fear in the soil of their memory. That fear will grow roots. Comment now, I'm no longer striking in anger. Precision is my win. But here's the discipline most men lack. After your strike, you go silent again. No gloating, no victory laps. You let the consequences speak louder than your words. The mystery of your limits will terrify them more than the memory of your retaliation. Because now they know you can hit, and they'll never see it coming. Comment this to make sure it burns into your mind. I strike once, and it's enough. A real predator doesn't just hunt. He controls the territory after the hunt. The problem with most revenge is that it ends at the strike. They get the satisfaction of the hit, but they leave the door open for retaliation. That is sloppy. Machiavelli would call it half measures, and half measures breed danger. If you teach someone, they can recover from your blow. You invite them to come back stronger. You don't just end the fight. You end their ability to fight again. This is post-strike dominance, and it starts with perception control after your retaliation. You don't talk about it. You don't confirm or deny. You let the narrative drift through whispers. You become the man they speculate about. Mystery is more powerful than confession. When they don't know your full capacity, they imagine it. and their imagination will always be more terrifying than the truth. You also reinforce your position through visible elevation, promotions, partnerships, new ventures, public wins. Each success sends a clear message. Not only did you survive, you advanced. You didn't just withstand the storm, you built a castle in it. That's the kind of dominance that freezes future challenges in their tracks. Behind the scenes, you quietly adjust the chessboard. You place allies where they can intercept potential threats before they reach you. You align yourself with people who amplify your power and create natural barriers against attack. This is how rulers operated for centuries, not by winning every battle, but by making most battles impossible. Machiavelli warned that mercy without power invites contempt. This is why you occasionally remind the environment of what you're capable of, not with reckless shows of force, but with small, precise demonstrations, subtle enough to avoid paranoia, strong enough to maintain respect. Think of it as keeping your blade visible without swinging it from here. Your enemies operate in constant hesitation. They will second-guess every move, weigh every word, and in that hesitation, you control them. Control isn't about the moment they bow. It's about making sure they never stand tall in your presence again. So remember, striking ends the fight. Owning the aftermath ends the threat. Comment this so you never forget. I own the ground they walk on. Write in the comments, I own the ground they walk on. I'm no longer ending at the strike. A king without loyal lieutenants is just a man wearing a crown no one respects. Machiavelli was blunt. Rulers are never destroyed by distant enemies. They are destroyed by those closest to them. That's why your next step isn't just controlling your enemies. It's engineer loyalty so deep that betrayal becomes suicidal. First, you must understand this. Loyalty isn't bought, it's cultivated. Money can be outbid. Fear can be overcome, but mutual benefit, that is the cement that holds an empire. Together, you identify the people whose ambitions align with yours, people who win when you win, people whose survival is tied to your success. These are not friends, they are investments. You give them value, no one else can access protection, knowledge, and in return, they become extensions of your will. Machiavelli advised princes to empower ministers so they depend on him entirely. You do the same. You make yourself the center of their upward momentum. Cut you out and they fall. Stay with you and they rise. But here's the cold truth. You must also test them. Small, controlled tests of loyalty. Give them opportunities to betray you where the stakes are low. Watch, listen. Those who pass you elevate. Those who fail you remove quietly before they think about testing you in ways that matter in the eyes of outsiders. Your circle will seem tight, impenetrable. That perception alone is power. An enemy thinking about moving against you now has to wonder not just about you, but about the silent, loyal operators around you. Operators who might defend you without you lifting a finger. That's deterrence on a psychological level. And here's where it gets dangerous for them. Loyalty breeds reach. Your allies carry your influence into rooms you'll never enter, into conversations you'll never hear. They shape narratives, protect your name, and intercept threats before they touch you. This is how empires maintain control without constant fighting. The empire defends itself. Machiavelli warned that divided counsel leads to weak leadership. That's why you keep your circle small. Too many voices means too many openings. A handful of trusted operators is worth more than an army of lukewarm supporters. Once this structure is in place, you're no longer just a man defending himself. You're a node of power with a living shield. Enemies can't just get to you. They have to dismantle the entire network. And by the time they try, it's already too late. Comment this to mark your transition. My circle is my armor. Comment below. My circle is my armor. I'm no longer building with the weak. Power doesn't always announce itself. The most dangerous man in the room rarely needs to speak. Machiavelli understood this. He wrote that a ruler's greatest weapon is not his sword, but the belief that the sword is always within reach. Fear is more efficient than force because fear works 24 hours a day without you lifting a finger. The mistake amateurs make is thinking fear comes from aggression. It doesn't. It comes from unpredictability and controlled presence. If your enemies can read you, they can prepare for you. If they can't, they start inventing stories about what you might do. And those imagined stories will always be more terrifying than reality. Your first step is to control appearance. You must look composed, always. No visible stress, no rushed words, no frantic moves. If someone disrespects you and you respond with the exact same calm as before, they'll start wondering what you're planning. That wondering is the first seed of fear. Next, you use strategic absence. Disappear from certain places, unexpectedly decline invitations without explanation, or withdraw access from people without warning. When you remove yourself, you force them to question their standing with you. The unknown becomes a weapon. They start filling in the blanks, and those blanks become threats threats in their minds. Then you deliver precision signals. A brief stare held a second longer than normal. A name mentioned casually that they didn't know you knew. A perfectly timed compliment that reminds them you're aware of their strengths and their weaknesses. You're not threatening them. You're reminding them that you see them completely. Machiavelli advised that a prince should be both a fox and a lion. The fox to detect traps, the lion to frighten wolves. Silent intimidation is the fox's art. You're never in open conflict, but no one doubts you could end it instantly if you wanted to. Over time, this creates an aura. Write in the comments, "My silence speaks louder than threats. I'm no longer aggressive, but unpredictable." You'll notice it when people lower their voices, when you walk in, when they check your expression before they speak, when even your enemies avoid saying your name too loudly. That's not respect. That's survival instinct kicking in. And here's the most lethal part. Once the aura is built, you no longer have to do anything. It sustains itself. People will spread the stories for you. They'll warn others not to cross you. They'll exaggerate what you've done and what you could do. The legend becomes self-reinforcing. From that point forward, you've reached psychological dominance. No fights, no shouting, just presence. Your reputation is your shadow. It moves ahead of you, enters the room before you do, and speaks when you're not there. Most people let their reputation drift, hoping it stays positive. That's a fool's gamble. Machiavelli understood that perception is more powerful than reality. If people believe you are capable, disciplined, and dangerous to cross, they will behave as if it's true, whether or not they've ever seen you act. This is the art of weaponizing your name. Step 1. Curate the narrative. Every move you make should reinforce a single identity: calm, calculated, and unshakable. Stop broadcasting your struggles. Stop explaining your decisions. Let people see only the results, never the process. When they don't know how you did it, they assume you can do it again in anything. Step 2. Make your wins visible and your retaliation invisible. Let your successes be public and undeniable, but let your enemies' downfalls look like bad luck. When they can't connect the dots, they start suspecting you control the dots. That suspicion alone changes how they move around you. Step 3. Don't hide every loss. Frame it. Machiavelli taught that even a setback can be useful if it reinforces your image. When you speak of past defeats, make them sound like calculated withdrawal lessons. You chose unnecessary sacrifices that positioned you for the next win. Turn every scar into proof of endurance. People respect the man who bleeds and still walks forward. Step 4. Plant stories, not lies. Strategic truths. Tell allies anecdotes that subtly amplify your capability. Let those stories spread without your name attached to them directly. The best reputation work happens when people believe they discovered the truth about you themselves. Comment this: "My name moves before I do. I'm no longer letting reputation drift." Once this is in motion, your reputation becomes a deterrence system. Disrespecting you will seem like a bad investment, not because of what you've done, but because of what you might do. Fear of the unknown is the strongest armor you can wear. Machiavelli warned that a prince who is loved but not feared will be destroyed. You don't choose between love and fear. You engineer a balance. Your allies respect you. Your enemies respect your reach. In both cases, your name carries weight. And here's the final truth. Once your name has weight, you no longer chase power. Power starts chasing you. Sometimes the most dominant move is to disappear. Not because you've lost, but because you've already won, and you're letting them wonder what comes next. Machiavelli taught that fear grows in the absence of information. The less people know about your position, your plans, your intentions, the more they invent their own conclusions. And in power games, their imagination will always paint you as more dangerous than you truly are. That's exactly what you want. Strategic disappearance is not running away. It's withdrawing supply. You take away your presence, your energy, your availability. You let your enemies speak into silence. And in doing so, they reveal themselves in the vacuum. They start guessing, or guessing turns to paranoia. Paranoia turns to mistakes. There are 3 rules for making this work. First, you must disappear on your own terms. Never vanish in reaction to pressure. Vanish at your peak, when your influence is obvious. That way your absence feels intentional, like you're moving pieces they can't see. Second, you leave traces of movement. Not direct communication, but subtle signals. Rumors of new alliances, glimpses of projects, hints that you're operating at a higher level. Your absence becomes a riddle. They can't tell if you're planning something massive or simply watching them from the shadows. Comment below. My absence has weight. I'm no longer visible to the unworthy. Third, you reappear with leverage. When you come back, you do so with a win, a new resource, or an elevated position. Your return must confirm the suspicion that your disappearance was a move, not an escape. Machiavelli wrote that men should be handled with either generosity or destruction, nothing in between. Strategic disappearance is the pause before deciding which they deserve. You give them just enough time to miss your presence or fear your return. Either way, they are primed for your next move. Understand this. Constant availability breeds complacency. Scarcity breeds value. When you control your visibility, you control your perceived worth. And when you control your perceived worth, you control the game without even touching the board. There's a difference between defeating someone and deleting them. Defeat is temporary. They can recover, rebuild, return. Deletion is final. They vanish from relevance as if they never existed. That's the freeze out. Machiavelli understood that the most secure victories are the ones no one can reverse. And in the modern world, the freeze out is how you make that happen. It's power without open war. Victory without a single direct blow. Here's how it works. You stop acknowledging them in every form. You strip their name from your vocabulary. You don't mention them, correct others about them, or even respond when they bring them up in your world. They simply don't exist. This creates a chilling ripple, because when you treat someone as invisible, others follow. Next, you control the spaces that give them oxygen. That means influencing the rooms, networks, and opportunities they depend on. You don't sabotage them directly. You just make sure their name never comes up in the right conversations. Projects. Pass them by invitation. Skip over them. The phone stops ringing. It's not personal. It's systemic. The beauty of the freeze-out is its stealth. They can't accuse you of attacking them. There's nothing to point to. No fight, no insult, no proof, just absence. And absence over time is lethal. Relevance is like a flame. It needs constant fuel. You don't have to put it out. You just stop feeding it. Machiavelli wrote that men should be either treated generously or destroyed. This is destruction in the quietest possible form. Comment this: I erase without touching. I'm no longer sabotaging directly. No drama, no spectacle, no witnesses. They fade until even their allies forget they were ever important. The result? They're still alive, still talking, still trying, but no one is listening. And you've removed a threat without lifting a weapon. The most elegant power move is to make it look like nothing happened at all. This is the final stage before absolute dominance. By the time they realize they've been erased, they're already gone. Revenge is not the end. The end is consolidation, making your position so fortified that no one will even consider stepping against you again. Machiavelli warned that after victory, a ruler must remove the root of the threat entirely or risk future conflict. The wise man doesn't just win, he cements. Consolidation means transforming your revenge from an act into an institution. Your systems, your circle, your reputation, your resources. Everything must now serve one purpose, making a challenge to you seem impossible. First, you anchor your authority publicly. Every achievement, every alliance, every visible asset is displayed in a way that makes your dominance look permanent. People need to see that you're not just standing, you're expanding. This is psychological territory, marking. It tells the world, I am not to be tested. Second, you strengthen your inner circle. By now, they've seen what happens when someone crosses you. Loyalty has been proven. Trust has been tested. This is where you reward your allies strategically. Give them more power, more access, more stake in your continued reign. When your survival is tied to their advancement, they will defend you without hesitation. Third, you cut all old ties to the enemy completely. No interactions, no comments, no mutual spaces in history. The most stable empires erased the names of their rivals from the record entirely. You do the same. Their memory becomes a ghost, and ghosts have no influence. Finally, you maintain the aura. Keep your composure absolute. Keep your presence scarce but powerful. Let the legend of your retaliation, your control, and your silence grow unchecked. Never confirm it. Never deny it. Mystery is the most cost-effective form of power you will ever possess. Machiavelli's ultimate lesson is that power is maintained not just by the fear of punishment, but by the certainty of it. Everyone around you must believe that crossing you is not simply risky. It is fatal to their ambitions. When that belief is universal, your position is untouchable. At this point, you don't need to defend yourself anymore. The environment defends you. The network you've built, the fear you've cultivated, the respect you've earned. These form a fortress no one can breach without being destroyed in the process. You are no longer reacting to threats. You are the reason threats don't appear. That is the highest level of power. That is the Machiavellian throne. Comment, this is the final seal on your transformation. I am the throne. Comment below, I am the throne. I'm no longer defending. The world does. You've been lied to, and you swallowed it like honey. Sweet on the tongue, but poison in the gut. They told you that kindness was the currency of the strong, that vulnerability would save you. But now look around. The wolves are feasting, and you're still asking for mercy. No one respects a man who bleeds without reason, breaks without fight, or begs to be seen. Power is not given, it is taken, and only by those cold enough to take it without guilt. This isn't about healing, it's about replacing your operating system. That emotional framework you inherited, weak. You've been playing life like a loyal servant waiting for permission to rise. But permission is a myth told by kings, to keep men like you in chains. From this point on, you will rebuild yourself like a tactician, not a dreamer. There is no savior coming, no mentor with all the answers, no lover who will heal your wounds. This path is lonely by design, and if that scares you, good. That means you're still human. But the strategist doesn't chase comfort. He sharpens himself in silence, becomes the storm. Others' prey passes quickly. You must stop asking and start calculating. What's coming next will shatter what's left of the old you. This isn't motivation. It's Machiavelli's blueprint, resurrected for the modern battlefield. And that's the point. You can't build steel on top of sand. You will replace the softness. You will bury the hesitation. And you will rise with a mind made for war. People will try to test you. They won't understand you. Let them. Confusion is a weapon. Silence is a mask. And your new face? Unreadable. Comment below. I am the architect of my power. Say it as a warning, not a wish. This is the line in the sand. Cross it, and there's no going back. But if you're ready, then steel yourself, because now we begin the construction of a weapon. You burn the old blueprint. You've built your life on a blueprint handed to you by cowards, and you never questioned it. They told you to be good, be liked, be moral, but only when it benefited them. What has that earned you? Rejection, confusion, weakness masked as virtue. If you want to become untouchable, you must burn the framework that made you predictable, soft, and obedient. Comment this: I am the architect of my power. I'm no longer following coward blueprints. The truth is brutal. The version of you you're clinging to was designed to be used. Your habits, your beliefs, your emotional reactions, they've all been coded by someone else's agenda. That version of you has served its purpose. It kept you hidden, compliant, forgettable. But now that skin must be ripped off, like armor forged from lies. You cannot lead if you're still afraid to disappoint. Burn it all. The fake confidence, the approval addiction, the watered-down ambition. No more compromise disguised as balance. You don't need healing. You need reprogramming, a ruthless purge of your emotional code. Weak men try to fix themselves while still holding on to their comfort. Strong men, they erase everything and start with a sharpened edge. You're not here to fix the old. You're here to replace it. Feel the resistance. That's fear, and it's a liar. Your comfort zone is a coffin in disguise. Padded, quiet, slow. Death, the fire you feel right now, is your signal to break the shell, not coddle it. Rebirth always begins in violence, and violence doesn't ask permission. You either shatter the shell or you die in it. And death isn't always physical. Sometimes it's a life unlived. This is your first command. Delete the man you were programmed to be. Write that in the ashes of your past life. Your pain is not your enemy. It's your forge. Use it. Comment below. My past self is ashes. Say it. Believe it. Burn it. We're not here to cope. We're here to construct a king. Strategic self-control. Control isn't about pretending to be calm. It's about owning the battlefield inside your head. You've been reacting like a puppet every time someone pulls your strings. That ends now. From this moment forward, you are no longer a man who bleeds out emotionally for free. You are a vote, a weapon with a locked trigger. No reaction becomes your new reaction. Powerful men don't need to prove they're strong. They simply never lose composure. They let others bark, lash out, flinch, and expose themselves. But the strategist he watches, he lets the emotional explode, then moves in. When the smoke clears, your control is not passivity. It's calculated restraint, the art of letting people destroy themselves while you stand untouched. You must begin to see your emotions as tools, not truths. Anger is fuel, but never your driver. Fear is information, not identity. Sadness, use it to deepen focus, not drown in it. The world wants men to be emotionally available, so they can be emotionally manipulated. But you build walls, not wounds. You think 5 moves ahead, not 5 seconds behind. The man who cannot control himself will never control anything external. The man who reacts loses, and in a game where perception rules, your greatest threat isn't others, it's your impulsive self. So here's your new rule. If it triggers you, it owns you. If it owns you, it beats you. If it beats you, you are still weak. Fix that or be used forever. From this point on, you are your own handler. Master your face, master your tone, master your silence, and most of all, master the moment before you speak. That pause, that's power. Comment below. I am silence behind the storm. Say it, hold it, live it. We're not reacting anymore. We're ruling. Weaponize your darkness. There's a part of you you've buried. The rage, the fear, the cold calculation. You were told to lock it away. That darkness makes you bad, but they lied. That shadow inside you. It's not weakness. It's your unused power. Raw, sharp, waiting to be turned into a weapon. You don't destroy the dark. You train it, aim it, and unleash it when it matters. Your pain has value. Comment below. My past self is ashes. I'm no longer weak in control. If you stop running from every betrayal, every insult, every failure, they're all bricks. Stack them, build with them. Darkness is not the opposite of light. It is the depth behind it. You will never be complete until you can look at the part of yourself that wanted revenge, wanted domination, wanted to destroy, and say, I see you, I need you. Suppression is not strength. Integration is the man who pretends. He's all love, and peace is the one who breaks when it counts. The man who has sat with his demons and made them work for him. That's the one you can't touch. Be terrifying, not reckless. Be controlled, not soft. The world doesn't need your purity. It respects your power, held under leash. Look in the mirror, look deeper. See the cold eyes behind the mask, the hunger behind the smile. That version of you doesn't need applause. He needs a mission. And when you give that darkness a purpose, you become unstoppable. You walk into rooms and shift the atmosphere without speaking. You become the man. Even the loud ones watch quietly. Stop hiding from the shadow. Step into it and drag it into your control. Make it serve your will. Sharpen your instincts. Protect your purpose. Weak men fear their dark. Strong men wield it. You've got a war to win, and light alone won't get you there. Comment below. My darkness obeys me. Don't fear your edge. Master it. Use it. Rule with it. The cold eye of observation. Most people stumble through life blind. Not physically, but psychologically. They don't see. They assume. They don't study. They react. But the Machiavellian mind, it watches everything. Every twitch, every pause, every contradiction. It's all data. You must train your mind like a sniper. No wasted bullets. No wasted emotion. Observation is your first weapon. Use it when you walk into a room. You're not there to be seen. You're there to study. Who's insecure? Who's posturing? Who can't hold silence? Power leaks from people who talk too much, move too fast, need too badly. You stay still. You let them show you their weaknesses. You don't intimidate with noise. You disarm with silence. Real dominance is quiet. Stop needing to be liked and start needing to be aware. Comment this. My darkness obeys me. I'm no longer fearing my edge. Study patterns, not promises. People will tell you who they are if you watch long enough. Does their tone shift when you speak truth to their eyes? Dart when you ask for clarity. These are signals, tells on the battlefield. Most people are broadcasting weakness while begging to appear strong. Never assume loyalty. Never assume morality. What you see is often a crafted illusion, and the strategists knows this. You must become fluent in body language, emotional micro-shifts, linguistic traps. You're not paranoid. You're precise. You're not old. You're calculating. You don't react emotionally because you already saw the strike coming 10 seconds before it hit. This is not about manipulation. It's about survival in a world of masks and motives. You either see through the game or get played by it. You are not here to chase feelings. You are here to extract advantage. Comment below. I see what others hide. That's not just awareness. It's protection. Learn to see like a shadow in daylight. Unblinking, untouchable. Machiavellian, mask, craft. You were told to be yourself, but that advice is for men who want to stay weak. The truth. No one rises in this world without a collection of masks. You must become whoever the moment requires, without hesitation, without shame. Authenticity is a luxury. Adaptation is power. Machiavelli said, a wise man must imitate the fox and the lion, and you'll become both, but never show either. You must learn the art of false virtue. The world rewards those who appear kind, while secretly respecting those who are calculating enough to appear kind while remaining dangerous. Be generous when you're being watched. Be ruthless when no one sees. If you want influence, master performance. Your smile should soothe your silence, should intimidate, and your presence. It should always feel deliberate, never accidental. This isn't about faking, it's about constructing your legend. You are the author of your identity, and no man climbs high by broadcasting his true intent. Tell them what they want to hear while doing what needs to be done. Keep them comfortable, but never informed. You don't lie, you navigate. And those who can't adapt will always be controlled by those those who can. Every environment is a stage at work. Become the agreeable ally until you take the lead in negotiations. Play the fool, then reveal your foresight in conflict. Comment below. I see what others hide. I'm no longer assuming, but observing. Appear emotional while planning 3 moves ahead. The man who can control how he is perceived controls the flow of power. Let others show their hand. You show a mask until it's time to strike. You must start practicing this daily. Speak less. Let others assume mirror energy when needed. Break it when tested. Masks are not weakness, they are armor. Your truth means nothing if it makes you vulnerable, so keep it locked. Your value is not in being real. Your value is in being unknowable. Predictability is death to a strategist. Mystery is a weapon. Those who say I am who I am are already slaves to their programming. You shape-shift with precision. You walk into rooms as a blank slate, then become exactly what gains you the most leverage. When you're loved, be gracious. When you're envied, be silent. When you're feared, let it stay that way. And always remember, power is perception, not possession. So here's your challenge. Pick 3 masks and master them. The diplomat, the phantom, the king. Use them wisely. Wear them well and drop them only when alone. Your inner world is sacred, never exposed. Your outer world is strategy, always deployed. Comment below. I wear masks to rule. The game isn't fair, so don't play it honestly. Play it like a ghost with teeth, ruthless boundaries. You don't rise by being available. You rise by being selective, brutal, and untouchable. Every time you say yes when you mean no, you sell a piece of your power. Every time you explain yourself to people who don't deserve it, you lower your value. Boundaries aren't selfish. They're sacred architecture, protecting your mind, energy, and empire, and most men have none. Let this burn into your bones. No one respects what is always accessible. Your time, your energy, your presence, they must be earned. Comment this. I wear masks to rule. I'm no longer vulnerable in truth. Not expected. People will take everything from you, not because they're evil, but because they're wired to consume what's unguarded. If you don't draw the line, they will walk over your corpse with a smile, and you'll blame them instead of yourself. From now on, no becomes your first language. No explanations, no guilt, no delay. If someone reacts badly to your boundaries, good. That means they were benefiting from your lack of them. Let the leeches leave. Let the users cry. Let the needy fall away. You don't need peace with everyone. You need power over your own damn life. And power demands distance. There will be people who tell you that boundaries are harsh, cold, unloving. But understand, this week, people confuse boundaries with cruelty because they fear confrontation. But confrontation is not cruelty. It is clarity. And if your clarity offends them, that's a sign. Most people don't want strong men. They want accessible ones, comfortable, predictable, weak. You must become none of those. Start filtering your circle. Who drains you, who demands access without value, who tests your limits with fake kindness. Get surgical. These people aren't just inconveniences. They are strategic liabilities. You're building a fortress, not a motel. Only those who bring discipline, loyalty, or growth should enter your gates. And even then, you lock the doors behind them. Your schedule, God like a war map. Your energy spent only where it multiplies your presence, rare and calculated. Let them miss you. Let them wonder why they don't hear from you anymore. Let your distance create gravity, because in silence you gain value, and in distance you gain dominance. You don't owe anyone access just because they remember your name. This is your masculine responsibility to be the gatekeeper of your own power, not to please, not to explain, but to protect the empire you are building, piece by piece. You are not here to babysit egos or be the emotional crutch for broken people who refuse to evolve. You are here to construct, enforce, and protect without compromise. You do not have to yell to draw a line. A calm, no spoken with eye contact is louder than 1,000 screams. Practice it. Say it without tone, without apology, without tension. People will push. They always do. Your job is not to give in. Your job is to make them realize this is a man who does not fold. Not for guilt, not for need, not for anyone. Comment below. My boundaries are law. Let it be known. You're not becoming bitter. You're becoming bulletproof. You're not rejecting people. You're selecting your future from now on. Your time is earned. Your presence is currency, and your boundaries, they are non-negotiable. Comment below. My boundaries are law. I'm no longer giving in. Build alliances, not friendships. Friendship is emotional. Alliance is strategic. And a strategist does not move through life emotionally attached to unpredictable people. You were taught to collect friends like trophies, people who make you feel liked, accepted, safe. But safety is not the currency of power. Loyalty is mutual. Benefit is the man who wants real influence, builds alliances, not emotional liabilities. Understand this. Most fry. Friendship is emotional. Alliance is strategic. And a strategist does not move through life emotionally attached to unpredictable people. You were taught to collect friends like trophies, people who make you feel liked, accepted, safe. But safety is not the currency of power. Loyalty is mutual. Benefit is the man who wants real influence, builds alliances, not emotional liabilities. Understand this. Most friendships are chains in disguise, pulling you down with their dramas, their needs, their stagnation. Cut them like dead branches. Build with those who amplify your empire, who guard your back because their rise is tied to yours. Comment below. I build circles of power. Your life is not a social club. It's a campaign. Your network is your fortress and your tribe. Small, strong, strategic. From here forward, you don't collect friends. You forge allies. Comment this. I build circles of power. I'm no longer in emotional chains. Silence is a power move. Silence is not weakness. It is a calculated strike. Waiting in the dark, the loudest man in the room reveals himself. He shows you his insecurities through volume, his desperation through constant speech, his fear through the inability to sit with tension. But the silent man, he's the one everyone watches because his stillness doesn't mean absence. It means preparation, observation, control. Most men don't understand this. They equate silence with awkwardness, with social failure. They try to fill every gap in conversation because they're terrified of what others might think in the pause. But silence is not a gap. It's a blade. It cuts deeper than words ever could when held correctly. Silence makes people project, confess, reveal all while you sit unmoved, unshaken, unread. The world teaches you to speak often, to share, to express. But the Machiavellian strategist knows better. The more you say, the more you expose. And once exposed, you're predictable. Predictability is the death of dominance. Every time you open your mouth out of compulsion, you lose leverage. Every word must be weighed. Every phrase measured. Speak only when speaking builds power, not when silence does it better. Do you want to know who really controls the room? It's not the one who commands attention through noise. It's the one who sits still, listens deeply, and waits until the perfect moment, then speaks with such precision that everyone shuts up. That's not charisma. That's psychological warfare. And it's yours to master the moment you stop fearing the quiet. Silence also forces others to reveal themselves. People hate, avoid. If you stay silent long enough, they'll try to fill it often with their secrets, their tales, their fears. They'll interpret your quiet as judgment, confidence, superiority, even mystique. Let them, because the most powerful illusion you can cast is letting others believe you know more than you've said. You win not through confrontation, but through discomfort they inflict on themselves. You don't speak to be heard. You speak to shift the energy. That's the new rule. When you speak, people should feel a weight drop in the air. They should lean in, because silence from you is the norm. So your voice becomes an event. You no longer speak to validate. You speak to direct, to destroy illusions, to declare decisions. Precision over performance. Train yourself to be the last, to speak in every room, gather intel return, feel the rhythm. When everyone else has spilled their mind, you'll have all the power, because you know what cards they hold. Comment below. My silence makes noise. I'm no longer fearing the quiet. This is how kings speak. This is how tacticians dominate. The fool interrupts. The strategist pauses. You must become the stylist man in chaotic rooms. Your silence should become unnerving, not because you're rude, but because people can't figure you out. They wonder what you're thinking, what you're planning, whether you're judging them or studying them. Good. Let them wonder. Let them fear the unknown in you. That mystery is your armor and your aura. It's what separates the average man from the calculating force. And make no mistake, silence is not in action. It is unseen calculation. It is dominance without display. When the enemy doesn't know what you're thinking, he cannot prepare. And when your allies aren't sure what motivates you, they step carefully with respect. You are not loud. You are loud. Through presence alone. You are not obvious. You are felt. This level of control. Start small. Begin by resisting the urge to explain yourself. Let misunderstandings stand. Let assumptions float. You're not here to defend. You're here to direct. Stop trying to correct every false impression. A mysterious man is never easily targeted. You don't exist to be understood. You exist to be feared, respected, studied from a distance. People think they need to be known to be powerful. That's backwards. Invisibility is the high ground. Power hides. Influence lurks. The most dangerous men are not the ones boasting. They're the ones you can't quite figure out. Become one. Be unreadable, unshakable, unexplainable. Speak when it's time to take space, not when you feel small inside it. Comment below. My silence makes noise. That's your mantra now. Learn to pause mid-conversation and let tension grow. Learn to end the sentence early and let it hang in the air like a riddle. Learn to leave questions unanswered, not because you don't know, but because they don't deserve your your answers. This is how you rise through silence, scarcity, and timing. Don't just speak less. Mean more with less. Don't just be quiet. Be felt. The storm doesn't shout before it strikes. It watches, gathers, and ends everything in a single, perfect flash. Long-term dominance over short-term pleasure. The man who cannot delay gratification is already conquered. Pleasure is the leash around most men's necks. Soft, invisible, seductive. It whispers promises of comfort, release, ease. And every time you listen, you trade your throne for crumbs. Understand this. Discipline isn't just a tool, it's a declaration, a line in the sand, between those who build kingdoms and those who chase dopamine like beggars. Look around you. The world is designed to seduce you. Cheap food, fast validation, instant access to fake intimacy. It's a buffet of weakness disguised as freedom and men. Grown men are drowning in it, addicted to attention, addicted to numbing, addicted to escaping themselves. But the man who can sit with discomfort, delay the high and hold his hunger, he becomes inevitable. You need to understand something brutal. Your future is being bought or sold with every small decision you make right now. Every scroll, every indulgence, every moment you choose. Comment below. Pleasure obeys my discipline. I'm no longer a dopamine beggar. Comfort over strategy. You're selling your empire to feel good for tens. And most men, they do this 1,000 times a day, never realizing they've auctioned off their destiny for dopamine drops. Real power isn't about speed. It's about endurance. The kings who lasted weren't the flashiest. They were the most patient. The generals who conquered didn't just charge. They waited. They studied. They starved strategically. You want long-term dominance. Learn to outlast. Learn to outdo pain. Learn to sit in the fire while others run to water. Like children, you do not chase pleasure. You command it when you wake up. Your first thought should not be what feels good. It should be what strengthens the empire. Your diet is fuel. Your discipline is architecture. Your rituals are scaffolding. The gym isn't about muscles. It's about control. The business isn't about money. It's about influence. The strategy isn't about results. It's about calculated consistency. There are two versions of you at war every day. The king and the child. The king delays gratification to fortify his domain. The child whines for comfort now and pays in regret later. Every time you pick distraction over focus, lust over purpose, indulgence over pain, you crown the child, and make no mistake, he will destroy your throne from the inside. You must begin to gamify your restraint. Treat every denial of impulse like a brick in your fortress. Every time you walk away from a short-term hit, you rise every time you say no to what would make you feel good right now. You say yes to the version of you that owns rooms silently. The man who wins is the one who knows. Pleasure is not the prize. Power is every high comes with a hidden tax. That lazy morning, it costs sharpness. That empty hookup, it costs discipline. That binge scroll, it costs hours of empire building. The problem is the price tag isn't printed in red. It's printed in years, momentum, respect. You don't see the debt until it's too deep to climb out of. Don't let that be your story. Make this your law. Nothing owns me but mission, not lust, not ego, not distraction. You will walk past temptation, not because you're weak for pleasure, but because you are too focused to be pulled. You will grind in silence, bleed behind the scenes, build in the dark, because you're not here to be seen. You're here to dominate when it matters. Delayed gratification is not a punishment. It is the signature of high-level men. The world calls it boring, obsessive, extreme. That's fine because the world doesn't build legacies. It consumes them. The world doesn't sacrifice its scruples. It escapes. It celebrates mediocre. Let them while they binge. You build while they sleep. You sharpen while they seek highs. You stack legacy. And one day you will look around and realize what you've become. Untouchable, controlled, respected, without speaking. While others chased quick wins, you became the win while they burned for pleasure. You became the man no fire could touch. That doesn't happen by accident. That happens through 10,000 invisible decisions no one sees, but everyone feels when you walk in. Comment below. Pleasure obeys my discipline. Write it, live it, breathe it. This is no longer about motivation. This is about identity. You are not here to play. You are here to build something that outlives you. And that kind of power doesn't come cheap. It comes through sacrifice, precision, and a hunger greater than pleasure itself. The game never ends. You think there's a finish line. You think one day you'll finally get to rest. Money made, respect earned, demons defeated, peace achieved. That illusion is the final trap. There is no end. There is only evolution or decay. The moment you stop climbing, the world starts eating away at what you built. Comfort is the assassin that wears a smile, and kings who forget that they rot in luxury, bloated on their past glory. The strategist knows the game never ends. It just shifts. One battle fades, another begins. The threats evolve. The enemies change faces. The temptations grow sharper. The throne you earn today will be tested tomorrow. This world is not static. It doesn't care who you used to be. It watches who you are becoming. Every sunrise asks you the same question. Will you keep building or start decaying? Let this sink deep into your blood. The crown you wear must be defended daily, not with noise, with standards, not with bravado, with consistency. You think you've done enough. Good. Now double it. You think you've outgrown your enemies. Good. Now outgrow your old self. Your past victories don't matter here. This is a new field, and it will break any man who confuse his achievement with a rival. You must stay hungry, even after your full stay sharp, even when there's no threat in sight. Stay cold even when life tries to warm you into complacency. Power is not a one-time hit. It's a pulse. You have to keep pumping with discipline, vision, and ruthless maintenance. Let other men retire into comfort. You are not built to rest. You were built to reign. And reigning is not about sitting on a throne. It's about operating with precision. It's about showing up when no one's watching. It's about pushing through and no one applauds. You do not need motivation anymore. You need a code, something written in your bones that doesn't flinch when the pressure hits, something that cannot be negotiated no matter how sweet the temptation. Let them think you're obsessive. Let them mock your silence, your solitude, your systems while they chase. Balance, you chase dominion while they ask for ease. You demand standards while they watch. Hours burn on distraction. You own every second like it's currency. That's the difference between men who are remembered and those who are recycled by history. Comment below. I am the storm in human form. I'm no longer seeking rest. But don't mistake movement for mastery. Don't just grind. Refine. Don't just wake up early. Become strategic with your hours. Don't just lift weights. Build your ability in your soul. The game is not just about output. It's about direction, accuracy, and timelessness. The man who thinks long game is the one. No short-term impulse can touch. He is unshakable, unhurried, unbreakable. You must be able to look in the mirror and know if this all collapsed today, I'd rebuild faster, better, colder, because the tools are internal now. The mindset is forged. The weakness is dead. You've become the weapon, and weapons don't panic. They execute. That's how you know you've arrived, when nothing external can destroy what you've built within. But even then, you keep building. You keep refining. Not because you hate rest, but because you know what rest costs. It costs sharpness. It costs leverage. It costs edge, and edge, once dulled, invites attack. The man who thinks he's safe becomes prey. But you move like a shadow with teeth. Even in stillness, you're lethal. Even at peace, you're poised to strike again. This isn't paranoia. This is power management. You're not here to survive. You're here to outlast, to outthink, to out-strategize anyone who steps on your ground. And that takes recalibration every day. Every morning you wake up and build your kingdom brick by brick again. Not because it's gone, but because that's the cost of keeping it strong. And maybe, just maybe, you'll become a symbol, a blueprint others study in silence, a name whispered with respect in rooms you've never entered. But that's not your goal. Your goal is deeper. Your goal is inner domination, to master the inner chaos, to never lose yourself, no matter how loud the noise gets, because the greatest enemy always lives within. So here's your final truth. The game never ends, and that's your greatest advantage, because the weak look for finish lines. The strong, we look for the next war, not because we love destruction, but because we love evolution. The battlefield is where we sharpen. The climb is where we remember who we are. The pain is where we become sovereign. Comment below. I am the storm in human form. Say it and mean it. This isn't just a video. This is your blueprint. And if you've made it this far, you are no longer just a man. You are a weaponized will, sculpted by pain, focused by silence, protected by boundaries, powered by strategy. You are not here to be liked. You are here to be unforgettable. So if this awakened something in you, do what a strategist would like. The video, subscribe to the mission, turn on that black bell of discipline, because this isn't motivation, this is war. And every war needs a ruler. You've reshaped, not inspired, not motivated, rebuilt from the inside out. You've erased self-doubt. not with affirmations, but with action. You didn't wait to feel ready. You moved, you acted, and you learned that power doesn't belong to the perfect. It belongs to the bold. You took rejection and turned it into fuel. No more chasing approval. Now you let people feel the cost of losing you. You became scarce, strategic, silent, and they noticed you stopped entering rooms to be accepted. Now you own them through presence, posture, and precision. You no longer speak to be heard. You speak as if no one can afford to disagree. And above all, you rewired your identity. You're no longer predictable. You're no longer easily moved. You've become unreachable, emotionally untouchable. They can't provoke you. They can't tempt you. They can't shake you, because you belong to no one now. And that makes you unforgettable. That's what creates a legend. Not noise, not fame. Powerful silence, cold clarity, ruthless consistency. You don't need to announce your transformation. They'll feel it in your walk, in your tone, in your absence. You've become the man people observe quietly. The one who used to chase, now being chased. The one who used to ask, now deciding. The one who no longer needs approval because he became the standard. So no, this wasn't just about confidence. This was about dominance. Mental, emotional, psychological. You are not here to fit in. You are here to move the pieces, to bend the room, to haunt their memory, even in silence. Because legends don't beg, they don't explain they exist, and the world reshapes around them. Final command, like this video. If you're done chasing, subscribe. If you're ready to become the kind of man they can't control, can't predict, and can never forget. Because this isn't self-help, this is war, and you just became a weapon. Like this video if you're done chasing and ready to change now. Subscribe if you truly want to transform, because we'll make these videos till death. Ultra commitment to delivering brutal truths, forging unstoppable rulers like you. No begging, just relentless evolution. Turn on notifications if this shifted something in you, because the war never stops, and neither will we.